But he's been sort of quiet himself. He's been quiet, Dave, actually. Exactly.
For Dave, anyway.
Exactly.
It's all
For Dave, he's, oh my God. So here's the other thing. And regarding the band name, now David Lee Roth could never take the name Van Halen with him for sure. I mean, it's Eddie and Al's name. He could never walk around calling himself Van Halen for sure. Now, if the name was Mammoth, yeah, there could have been a battle over that for sure, but it all depends on shares and how it's all broken down. Sammy, I don't think he would have walked around calling himself Van Hagar because Sammy likes being a solo artist. He's an egomaniac. Sammy loved, and don't get me wrong, just so Josh knows, Dave's an egomaniac too.
Right,
so,
right.
Sammy would have no need to call himself Van Hagar. He only does a sprinkling of songs in the set anyway. I mean, if he wasn't doing a full-blown Van Hagar set during the 2002 tour with Dave, he's only sprinkling in there. He's got his own career he worries about. He loves the Sammy Hagar brand. For Christ's sake, he called the Circle Sammy Hagar and the Circle. You know what I mean? It's not like just the Circle. So
Sammy likes being Sammy.
Oh,
and if he really wanted to call himself Van Hagar, he would have done it already.
Exactly. Yeah, that's for sure. And he doesn't need to do that. So I think that pretty much sums that up. And we are on to letter number 6. And that comes from Dave Moses, the fourth Dave. And he says, Daves, you guys are Van Halen for the time being. And I thank the hell out of you guys for that. And he says, hey, ever heard of the rumor that Dave slept with Valerie Bertinelli back in the day, and that this is what caused some of the rift between Ed and Dave? Well, first of all, we are definitely not Van Halen. That's for sure. Dave and I are just fans. We are basically like Wayne and Garth, no different, with a lot less hair, and we have no representation of the band. We are just fans, that's for sure. There is no truth, Dave, to that rumor about Val sleeping with Dave. That is absolute and total BS.
Right. I always thought the rumor was Dave was sleeping with Al's wife.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
I always thought that was the rumor back in the day.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I
think, wasn't her name Valerie, too?
I think it was. But you know what I think it was? I don't think that had to do with anything. I mean, Dave doesn't need to do stuff like that. He's not that type of...
No. It's a total rumor. I don't think Dave needs to do that.
No. But let me explain where I think it's coming from. Okay, I'll tell you where I think it's coming from. Okay, Dave was very jealous of Ed because of Val. Wait, not because of Val. Nothing against Val. She's absolutely lovely. See, Val was such a star at that time, and so was Ed, both of them, and they made sort of a Hollywood power couple. And I don't know if you guys remember. I mean, Dave and I are old enough. I'm sure most of you, too, are old enough to remember. But Ed and Valerie were all over the place on all those entertainment shows and in the People magazine, and they got a lot of press. And, for a guitar player in a rock band, don't get me wrong, he's legendary. But to get the kind of global press that he was getting, like outside of the rock community and outside of the music community, his profile started blowing up. Not only from Van Halen and from his guitar wizardry, but then he's in this, power couple between, this Hollywood starlet with him, and then on top of that, he does the Beat It solo for Michael Jackson. Like, it swirled up into gargantuan levels, and I think Dave's ego got really bruised. And I don't know if you notice, but around that time, Dave was dating a lot of actresses. He was dating Apollonia from Purple Rain. He was dating Sonia Braga from Kiss of the Spider Woman. He was fishing around the Hollywood area, and I think he was very jealous of what Ed had. Not so much Val specifically, not so much of being married, but that he was getting all this press and attention. That's where I think this was coming.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we are on to letter number 7, and this comes from Andy Diller, and he calls himself Killer Diller, this guy. He's got his own nickname. He is from Ohio. So Andy says, today at my son's track meet, I was walking to the concession stand, and my son says to me, get me something to drink, I don't care what, and a donut, glazed if they have them. This allowed me to say, when I got to the front of the line, give me a bottle of anything and a glazed donut to go. I'm 50, and this is the first time I knowingly used a David Lee Roth line in real life. It was a proud moment. Have you ever snuck a Van Halen lyric into the conversation. I love the podcast. Keep up the great work. Andy, Killer Diller from Ohio. All right, man. Well,
that was awesome.
Yeah, you like that?
That was just awesome.
I have to say, I've used a few. I've used Lord Strike That Poor Boy Down a few times, especially when watching football. I've used, obviously, the classic One Break Coming Up, because obviously my name is Dave, and if anybody says, come on, Dave, give me a break, I use that line. And for some reason, I also like to use the line, she looks so fucking good, so sexy and so fresh. I like that one, too. So those are the ones I use. Anyone for you, Dave?
Oh, any quotes I've used? I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Okay.
I've tried to use a bottle of anything and a glazed donut to go, but
really?
I don't think I've actually ever ordered it from anywhere.
Yeah, right?
I applaud the listener for pulling it off. Well done.
Well, that's why they call him Killer Diller, Dave. That's why they call him Killer
Diller.
He
is the Killer Diller.
That's right. He's the Killer Diller. He's the Killer Diller who has no filler.
There
All right,
go.
so we are on to letter number 8. And this is from Steve Ustick from West Michigan. And he says, each month before a Dave and Dave Unchained episode drops, I wonder to myself, considering Van Halen has done nothing and has nothing going on, what on earth is there to talk about? Yet somehow you always deliver and each episode is never short on interesting content. And I just need to ask, how do you do it? Would you mind giving us a little Dave and Dave Unleashed, which is inside look behind the scenes? I am not starting a podcast. I am just generally interested in what you guys have to go through to continually put out good episodes. So now he listed 10 questions. I'm going to read the question and answer it. And then, Dave, you can follow with an answer as well. Do you ever run out of ideas and need to scrounge for content or for people to interview? My answer to that is no. Dave, do you have an answer for that?
No, I mean, you and I are going back and forth all the time, coming up with things to do.
That's right.
And absolutely. And we're always looking for people, and we get suggestions sometimes from listeners.
Yep.
Or even leads and stuff like that. Uh-huh. Or, you talk to one person and somebody else says, like when we were talking to Margot, who illustrated the 1984 album cover, and she had said, well, you should talk to my husband because he worked for Warner Brothers for years.
Right.
And we were like, had no idea. So we interviewed him. I mean, so you never know where it's going to lead.
That's true. And also, one of the biggest frustrations is trying to get people and I can't get them. And I don't mean like David Lee Roth or something. I'm talking about like just, side people. I've had people deny and won't come on. And again, I'm not talking about Eddie Van Halen or, David Lee Roth or, that's sometimes frustrating. And some people are nervous on coming on. I don't know why that makes no sense whatsoever. But anybody who's ever come on and had trepidation about coming on always says afterwards, wow, that was really a lot of fun. I didn't, it's like, so anyway, number 2. Do you plan the episodes well in advance, or is it a blank slate as soon as the last one drops? I definitely plan them in advance, for sure. So, like, I have episodes planned right now. Well, I tell you, what happens is I plan episodes, but are they going to happen? I don't know. It all depends on what's available. So, it's almost like going to the supermarket and having, like, 5 different dinners you can cook, and then see what they have available at the supermarket, fresh, that you can pick up and buy, that you can go home and cook. It's that kind of thing. Again, another food reference, Dave. Dave always liked to my food reference. So, number 3, aside from what-if segments, do you guys ever disagree on content? If so, how do you move forward? Well, I have to say, the only way that usually happens is if I'll put something together and Dave goes, we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I will say that rarely happens.
Yeah, it rarely happens. It happens once in a blue moon.
We're usually on the same page.
Yeah.
You'll be like, hey, I got an interview with this guy, this band, whoever. I'm like, great. Or, hey, how about we do this and go that? But yeah, every once in a while,
Dave's like, this is not a good idea.
And it goes both ways, to be honest with you. Although, to be fair, I do have to rein Dave in more than he has to rein me.
Right.
And I kind of have to be the voice of reason and say, you may want to sleep on that and then get back to me and think if you really want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's not like that's every episode where Dave was like, I've got this great idea. We're just going to do this effing crazy thing. Because I'm like, because the other thing is we both have day jobs. So,
Yeah.
You don't.
Right.
You really don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize.
Right. No,
the game
nothing
job,
crazy.
so,
Nothing crazy.
Right?
No. Of course.
So no, but I'd say we are on the same page, like 95, 99% of the time.
Right. Exactly. Now, do you record your podcast in one sitting, or is it broken up over several days and weeks? Well, we do VH News and the Mailbag in the same night. So, like right now, we're doing Mailbag. We just did VH News a little while ago. And we typically do that. If we do a discussion on something, we do that on a different night. If we do an interview, we do that on a different night. So it's usually done that way, because or else it's just too long. I mean, it takes a while to do the news in the Mailbag. It takes a while, so...
And I just can't stay up that late.
That's right. We had to actually move it up an hour. So,
yes.
Dave's, because Dave's getting old, and, even though we're the same age. Older. That's right. Older, right? Like, just like Bon Jovi says, I'm not old, just older. Okay,
right.
So that's right. So that's how it works. Number 5, what do you like most and dislike most about doing this podcast? Well, I like most is obviously my time with Dave. That's always the best. Like, so speaking with Dave.
Aren't you sweet?
I am. It's the truth. That's the absolute truth. Dave and I always enjoy our time together. We always have good chemistry. And this conversation would go on even without a microphone.
Well, that's true, which is why we started the podcast, because we were talking about it so much.
Exactly.
But we were just like, let's finally do this thing and see who listens.
Right. And dislike is definitely the post-editing process, which is long. It's a long
Oh, God bless you. God bless you for doing
It's
that.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So there's a lot of that. Dave, what do you say? Do you have any answers to this?
I can't really think of any negatives other than, like, it seems like it's feast or famine.
Yeah.
Where, there'll be like this dry spot where there's not a lot of news, or it's a low mailbag month. We can't get interviews for whatever reason. And we're not like scrounging or anything that. But, and then all of a sudden in like 1 month, that especially happened with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because everybody was home,
right?
And all the interviews were like boom, 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 boom.
Right.
And we were like, all right, well, let's get them now while we can. We're not going to do them all in one podcast. Now. We'll space them out.
Mm-hmm.
But if people are available, you're going to do them now.
Right. Yeah.
So and then so you're doing all these interviews, and then everyone starts writing in again because the pandemic. Everyone has time.
Right.
And then you're like, it's getting really challenging to manage my time, because it's like every other night you and I are on the phone doing this, and it's kind of like, wow.
It is.
So, but you want to do it while you can, and you have the opportunity.
Yeah.
So time management is something sometimes I struggle with, but yeah, absolutely. The best part is talking Van Halen with you.
Right.
And,
it's always fun.
And having the opportunity to talk to people like Greg.
Yeah.
People who write books and people in the music industry. And people you never thought you would talk to.
Right.
And just learning and just having, not face to face, but having real conversations with people who were in the know, getting into tips with Noel Monk.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Because you ask him a question.
Oh my God.
And and he's like, I was there.
Right. Fuck you, I was there.
Fuck you. Right. Basically, fuck you, I was there. Don't be using logic with me. I was there. So it's all sorts of fun stuff like that. And when we were having them, the Van Halen bashes, getting people together and seeing them.
Mm-hmm. That's
fun.
It's
all... I never thought, over 4 years later, it's still going strong.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And now, which episodes have you done are your favorites or more memorable to you? Well, I mean, that's hard because there's so many. Obviously the Van Halen bashes are always memorable and fun. In terms of guests, I think the John Shanks interview was wild. I know Dave and I had a blast doing that. And anything with Noel, anything with Noel. I mean, he's like a sage. He's like a cranky sage. It's hysterical. I love Noel's attitude. And let me tell you something. It's so funny because there are stuff that I get wrapped up with. And sometimes I'll just think about Noel because Noel has this sort of very frank, very straightforward, and very fuck it attitude. It is hysterical, and it really kind of, because sometimes I get too wrapped up in stuff, and it takes me out of things. I think about Noel's just like, well, here's the deal. Like he's just so funny. Like, like he's just so